Hey everybody. So it's technically still January, although perhaps not in your area by the time this gets uploaded. Um, Sorry I've been gone so long again. How are all of you doing? I'd really like to hear. I don't like these videos just, being all about me. I'd really like to hear how you guys are doing and say hi and everything, but of course in the video itself, how I'm doing is kind of the only thing I can talk about. So, yeah, this month has been a lot. I've sort of tried quite a few things and not not been ecstatic with how they turned out, but anyway, I mentioned that I was going to try going to a neurodiversity skills group in my area, and I wasn't sure it was going to be the right thing for me. But I decided it would be good to give it a shot, so I did, and there were only 3 other people in the group, and I guess that was part of the question I didn't know the answer to going into it, because if it was a fairly large group, that increases the chances that there will be someone else that I really jive with, and it's really helpful to talk to, right? And as it turned out, there were 3 other people, and I felt like everybody else was dealing with fairly different circumstances than me, which I wasn't too surprised about, but I thought I'd give it a try. So it wasn't a bad experience, but it wasn't especially helpful either. And I decided that since I thought my DBT skills group was going to be starting at that same time slot weekly, that I would go ahead and prioritize that. As it turns out, I haven't gotten into the skills group yet, and it may end up being at a different time. But I'm not really in a hurry for that to happen either. To be honest, for one thing, it's online only, and I've talked endlessly about how I find that more anxiety-inducing and less realistic and productive and helpful and pleasant and all of that. And the other thing about it is very much skills focused. It's basically a class. So basically the therapist talks about whatever coping skill they're going to be talking about that week, and everybody listens. And then at the end, they kind of just ask everybody how they've been doing with previous skills that have been taught, whether they've attempted them, whether they found them useful or not. So pretty much no peer interaction as far as I can tell. So you get the anxiety of a bunch of people being in the room with you, but none of the benefit. At least that's how I see it. So I'm not really eager for that to get started, and I'm okay that there hasn't been a slot ready yet, but I have been continuing with my weekly sessions with my DBT therapist, individual sessions, and I can't honestly say I'm feeling any better about that yet. He's a nice enough guy, but I think the thing is with therapy, regardless of what modality of therapy you're using, you're kind of trying to do the same thing with different words. Because, DBT is supposed to be about sort of accepting that your struggles are real and that it makes sense that you're having them with how you've experienced life, but also that you need to change. And that sounds like a good framework in theory, right? But, when it comes down to it, the need to change part is kind of similar to other methods of therapy, in my view, in that it's kind of just teaching you random ideas to try to distract yourself from anxiety or whatever else it is you're dealing with. Just weird things like quickly changing your body temperature, or when you have a bad thought enter your head, just view the thought and let it go. And that stuff just really doesn't jive with me, unfortunately. Because it has occurred to me before that if I could just ignore my thoughts, then I would be better off, because I'm not really in danger. People are not really trying to judge me, and if they were, judging me is not really going to hurt me. But, kind of the whole thing is I can't just let go of those thoughts, and so they come up with, DBT therapists, that is, have a whole variety of ways to try to explain letting go of your thoughts as metaphors and things that you picture in your mind, like skipping stones away from you on a river, or anything like that. There's a list of about 30 of them in the official DBT manual, and then your therapist can sort of add any that they found useful. And I just don't think my brain is wired to accept that sort of thing, because it's not real. It's a metaphor for trying to make your problems go out of your brain, and my brain doesn't buy that. So I'm trying. I haven't quit yet. Trying very hard to stay in it as long as I can, so that I can be sure I'm giving it as fair of a shot as possible. But it does feel really bad to feel like, as I've talked about before, I must be doing something wrong with therapy. It's not working because I don't want it to work, right? Like, that makes no sense. Of course I want it to work. I'm depressed as hell all the time, and this is not what I want my life to be, and I'm trying very hard to change, but when it just repeatedly doesn't work, it makes you feel like you must be doing something wrong. So it's not a pleasant experience, but if I'm not in therapy, then I'm not trying either. So it kind of feels like whether I'm in therapy or I'm not in therapy, I feel like I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not doing a good enough job. I'm just wasting people's time, but it is what it is. So I'm going to keep trying with that for the time being. And one other thing I did that I really wanted to talk about that definitely is part of the reason this video has taken so long to come out, although I don't really need an excuse. They just kind of always take this long at this point. But I was feeling really, really depressed and kind of close to hurting myself. So I decided to try a partial hospitalization program, which I feel like the name is kind of a misnomer. It's really just intensive outpatient therapy. Basically, what this program was, as far as I understood it, was I would be going to a facility nearby, and that would be every weekday for like 5 hours from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And in theory, what it's supposed to be is, just really intensive therapy, as well as a psychiatric staff that helps with your medications and all that in real time, a little bit faster than might be with your regular psychiatrist appointments. And the main reason I thought I might benefit from that is, as I've explained, I don't find therapy super useful, so it seems maybe a little bit strange that I would even try that. The reason I decided to is because it's group therapy basically the whole time, is more or less how this format is supposed to work, to my understanding. And so, it's kind of the same approach I've had with all these other things I've tried to set. I'm not so much interested in the therapy part as much as the group part, as much as, just trying to interact with other people who are also struggling. And it's kind of hard to talk about how it went because I I've already started and stopped this program, and again, it makes me feel really bad to have quit it so quickly. Like I must not be trying hard enough, or I'm doing something wrong. But I mean, honestly, um, it was not. I think the place left, and so there was a lot of the time that the therapist who was supposed to be doing our group stuff was basically elsewhere trying to do administrative stuff. So the first day when I went in there were 3 other people who were doing the program, and one of them was on their last day. And so, the thing is, we didn't do much group therapy. We really didn't. About half of the time, our therapist just was not in the room. And so, during that time, and people just kind of did whatever while they waited for the time to pass. And, obviously, we didn't really have that much of an opportunity to get to know each other, so we didn't have much basis to talk to each other, right? So, it wasn't really any different than if I had gone and tried to talk to random people in a coffee shop or something. It was not going to happen. And the other people were not, really trying to force me to have a conversation either. They didn't really want to chat either. They were just kind of hanging out too. Because obviously they're dealing with their own sorts of struggles. I think everybody in there had some degree of anxiety, and when we did talk about that sort of stuff. And so yeah, when she wasn't in the room, we just kind of sat there, and she being our therapist. And when she was in the room, the therapy itself was kind of generic. We're going to go through random handouts about dealing with grief, setting boundaries, just all sorts of wide varieties of things designed to help people's mental health, which is fine. Again, I kind of knew that was going to be a wide-ranging thing and that I wasn't necessarily going to be very invested in any of it. But the thing that really bothered me about it was that I kind of thought, since it was this focus on group therapy, that there was going to be some level of peer interaction, and I asked questions about this before I started it, and my belief that was going to be the case was reinforced by people's answers. Nobody was super direct about what exactly it was going to entail, but I got the impression that it was going to have a good bit of peer interaction, and it's not like they didn't allow us to talk to each other, right? We had plenty of opportunity, but the way I understood it, I'm going in this facility, and it's not cheap, and so I kind of thought that the group therapy and the peer interaction would be facilitated by the therapist a little bit more. But what happened in reality was that the therapist would decide what we're going to talk about that day based on what people said they were struggling with in particular. And she would go over a handout about whatever the topic was that she thought would be helpful to address. And people could chime in and share their experiences as they wanted to. But they were never really particularly invited to do that. It was just like, you can jump in. You're not going to be told to shut up if you do, but it wasn't like people really ask their thoughts. And I kind of thought, we would have specific activities that were designed to sort of have us interact with each other and talk about our experiences with each other. Um, and that just isn't what happened. So it was really disappointing, and at the same time very stressful, because I had to get up early and drive about 20 minutes. Lots of highway driving, which I really hate. So it was a whole lot of anxiety. And then, of course, there's the anxiety of I'm sitting in the room with these people, and it's just super awkward. We're not talking. We're not doing anything a lot of the time. And like I said, I think part of the problem was that their facility might have been a bit understaffed at the moment. But yeah, I mean, even when we were doing stuff, it's just we didn't really have any facilitated interactions with each other. And to me, that was kind of the point, because if I'm just trying to go talk to people randomly, if I had the guts to do that, then I guess I wouldn't really be struggling, right? So, but I still feel really bad, like I must be doing something wrong, but I don't know. I just have to trust my gut at some point. So I decided it was not really worth the stress for me. And, it sort of felt like a last-ditch effort, because it feels like I've tried everything. There are definitely certain medications that I haven't tried in some sense, but that's a lot of that stuff is maybe less researched. It can be harder to get your hands on. I mean, I've tried pretty much everything that my psychiatrist can prescribe me, right? So it's more like, I don't know. There are other things, but it feels really, really hopeless, when you reach out for professional help, and you kind of go through everything that's available. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but yeah, I've been struggling, and I'm just trying to keep going, taking it a day at a time. And this is kind of weird to just throw out there, but I felt like mentioning it. I've been crying a lot, and it's really weird to just say that, but I just kind of wanted to mention it because I haven't really talked about it much at all, and I know other people obviously deal with that too, and I don't know, I guess I just wanted to say that it's okay to do that, and sometimes you just have to, and it's really hard for me. My body kind of resists, but I don't know, crying is kind of like sleeping. You know what I mean? I don't know, it helps me sometimes to do that, and I don't know, I kind of wanted to mention it. I'm not really sure why, but anyway, that's kind of all I have to talk about right now. Like I've said before, I'm not really sure where to go with these videos when I kind of feel really stuck, but all this is supposed to be is a kind of accounting of what I'm doing, trying to get better with AVPD. So I guess that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to share what I'm dealing with. So yeah, I hope this didn't feel like too much of a time waster, and yeah, I think that's about all for now. I really would like to hear from you guys about how you're doing. It makes me feel a lot better to none of us really like talking about ourselves, right? And I'm trying to do it here so that I can be helpful to other people, but at the same time, I think part of what makes it helpful is if it also makes you feel like you can talk about how you're doing. And I would really like to hear whether it's super exciting, happy things, or whether it's super depressing. I really, really want to hear how you guys are doing. So say hi, please. And yeah, I'll talk to you again soon-ish.